D's for Danger. Hey guys, this is Drew Danger back here, KoD, Knights of the Dragon, back on the scene. We're excited, we're ready, we're pumped, and we got a very awesome show with a very special guest. So, you guys know me, Drew Danger, always with the topics, always with the new stuff. We're going to have something special for you guys today. We got Reekin Ranger, as you guys know, the adventures of Drew Danger and Reekin Ranger. As we get in trouble and we do all the stuff that we do, finding the Ark of the Covenant, having people getting hearts snatched out of their chest, whatever. We do it here. Finding the Holy Grail, just don't drink the wrong cup, right? Drink the right cup. Choose wisely. And speaking of choose wisely, we have chosen the best guest that we can get for you guys. We've got Stephanie Dana. We call her RangerMatrix here on the show. You guys know her. She's fantastic. She's wonderful. She saves the world as a ranger, and we love her, and we're happy to have her here. So, guys,
thank you guys.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm blabbing too much. I'm going to pass it over to my buddy Reekin Ranger. He's going to start with some questions. We're going to see what's going on. You know what time it is. Maybe morphin time, but really, it's Reekin Drew Danger time.
You already know. Let the adventures begin. Anytime you tap in with us, Lord Ninjetti at your service. Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
We got our girl Stephanie Dana in the building, friend of Resilient Army, friend of the KoD, active member in the community. So basically, we had to get her on KoD and get some input on the fan base, on her experience as a volunteer, how to become a volunteer, what your job entails, how many years she's doing it, a little bit of background. So, basically, without further ado, Stephanie, let us know about yourself. Welcome to KoD. And, talk to the people. What do we need to know about you and Power Rangers?
Well, thank you guys for having me a part of this. For me, being a part of the fan base and everything has been a long time thing for many years. From when it comes to different things with volunteering and all of that, I started off back when I first started going to KatsuCon. My very first convention, I went as a guest and then went from being guest to volunteering mid-convention. So they pulled people, they're like, hey, we need extra help. And that's how I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Nice.
So, it's called KatsuCon. It is in the National Harbor. It's right on the DC border, about 15-ish minutes from the Arlington National Cemetery.
Is that where you're from? Where are you kind of stationed out of? DMV, that area?
So I live in the DMV area, so it definitely is a big thing for me to kind of be in the area. I go to Baltimore a lot. I'm originally from New York, grew up in Baltimore and the DMV area, so that's kind of been my thing.
You're from actual B-more then. You're a Baltimore girl.
No, I'm actually a Long Island child. I was born in Long Island, New York, but raised between Maryland and West Virginia.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. So how long ago was that when you first got in that first con and you got in the con scene and you really got the bug for the volunteering? What year? What's the timeline? Where's your time stone at?
I want to say roughly 2014 because it was actually after my grandfather passed away. I really took into the con world as a way to kind of, grieve, instead of just kind of, wallowing in on my grief. I took it to the con world and, it was my escape. I'd always loved, Power Rangers, anime, Xena, all of that. I grew up watching it. So for me, what better way to be in the con world than to follow something that I loved? And that was kind of like my big thing.
Right. Nice. Well, so sorry to hear about your grandmother. I just
Yeah,
meant like it's you've been in it a while, so you got to see the 2017 rush. You got to see now what is your experience with JDF moving through the traffic back then in the con scene, stuff
The
like
con
that?
for me, I actually never got to do any of the conventions that he was at,
Mm,
nor did I get to go to them because during those times, I mean, between school and work, those were kind of big things. And even though they were semi cheap back then, um, work never let me get off for a lot of the ones I wanted to do.
right.
So I just kind of I played it by ear, played the cards right sometimes, and sometimes I just was like, look, I'm burnt out. I need a little bit of a vacation. The burnt out one was the one that I think got me the most luck,
Right.
but I didn't get to do a lot of the conventions that JDF was at. I wish I did. I would have loved to have met him in person. Um,
Right. Well, definitely. That's
I
more proof why we do what we do, because me and Drew have such a crazy history with
yes,
JDF that it's a good way to talk to people and connect to people that haven't met him too. So to be able to experience how he was definitely one of a kind. Um,
oh yeah,
yeah. Any questions for her, Drew? What do you got?
I've got lots of questions, a whole bunch
Yeah.
of questions.
Let her cook. I want to get into that backstory, that history, where the con seat's at now, in your opinion, stuff like that. Let's really go in about it.
No,
I do
absolutely.
apologize. Sorry,
No,
what were you asking?
No,
So
where the
he's
con
passed it
seat's
over
at
to
now.
me. I said I
Yeah.
got lots of questions to ask you.
Hmm.
So, Stephanie Dana, tell us about your life. Tell us all about you. I want to hear what was young Stephanie like and how did she come to be? How
Yeah.
did she grow?
When did the show get you too?
Yes,
We didn't
that's where
talk
I'm
about.
getting to. When did the show get you?
Oh
Were
yeah.
you a VR Troopers fan? Were you a Power Ranger? Were you a Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad fan? Were you?
Oh
Ah,
Please don't say you were a Beetleborg fan, and please don't say you're a Sweet Valley High fan.
ooh, no.
Oh,
yeah.
good. Thank you. People are like, "Yay, Beetleborgs!" I'm like, ugh, no, thank you.
Drew wants his hand in the VR troopers. He wants his
My
shot.
hand like this. We are VR. I'm gonna do the whole thing.
So
Yeah. So I mean, between VR Troopers,
Uh-huh.
Power Rangers, and Common Rider, actually,
Oh yeah.
was how I really got my start into watching everything. And actually, um, thanks to Tokusatsu and the awesome powers of Dozier Studios,
hmm
I actually have, hold on a second, if I could get it to go right. I have an entire collection up until the Super Ninja Steel,
nice.
all on DVD.
Nice.
Very
Ranger
cool.
stuff? Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Um, so that's the, I mean, like I grew up in it. Mighty
Yeah.
Morphin was my first series I got to watch growing up.
Mhm.
Actually, I watched it while I was in daycare. So for me, watching it, growing up on it, and just following along was like my big thing.
Right.
Very cool.
Would you say it has something in it that helps kids with trauma and mental health and principles? And what do you think that's drawn so many people our age to the show within it?
Oh, I mean, from Mighty Morphin, I mean, it talked about, school. I mean, if you look at it,
Right.
high school life sucked for a lot of people.
Right. Right. It's a good
Same with
connection.
Dino Thunder. Like, high school life was one of those things that, you never knew what was going to happen next. I
Mhm.
mean, bullies were around every corner. I myself am a victim of perpetual high school bullying.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a time where I thought, is this ever going to end? Because
Yeah.
my entire high school life was surrounded by bullying. And so for me, yeah, I mean, I look to Power Rangers, to anime, to doing parkour, to doing other stuff because I knew in the end that was how it was going to be.
You did parkour?
I
Crazy.
did when I was younger. I cannot now.
What, were you like jumping off sides of buildings? Were you doing the whole thing?
Yes.
Hey, the
So,
95
like,
movie had me
especially,
rollerblading. I was
huh?
rollerblading. After the 95 movie, I was rollerblading. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There was that time. So I had the
Like,
K2 fatties with the little small wheels in the center where you were grinding and stuff on. I had
oh
those
yeah.
back in the day. It was a
Rican, I
phase.
want to see a picture of this.
Yeah, I had some K2 fatties back in the day. I went through a skater phase, so I get it. It was popping. Tony Hawk 2 was coming out. Tony Hawk Pro Skater on 64. That was popping. That was the time.
Oh
But
yeah.
you were
I mean,
rollerblading.
A little bit, yeah, a little
You were
bit.
rollerblading. How you gonna watch Tony
A
Hawk and
little
then
bit
not
of
get a
skateboard
skateboard,
too.
man?
I can't rollerblade to save my life, so I give you props.
Yeah,
I was literally my entire childhood was known as we need to put you in bubble wrap. I broke my arm. I've fractured my wrist. I've sprained both my ankles.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, I was an accident prone magnet. I'm, I,
yeah.
I even have actually I have fractured and broke my thumb before. So for me, it's like, yeah,
So the
different things.
parkour didn't last too long then.
Oh
Assuming.
no, the thumb was actually 2018,
Yeah,
2017, 2018. Um, that was me just really being stupid.
right.
So yeah, I mean, there were things that I regret doing.
Huh.
Parkour was not one of them.
Yeah. Mhm.
It gave me an outlet.
Well,
Now,
going between like the seasons on the come up. You started with MMPR, you watched it in daycare. The bully aspect was beautiful. I didn't even really put that together because I was always fighting the bullies. I was the guy that got bullied, and then I hit the bully in the face, and then I became the cool kid. So I used to like to fight because I was always moving in different schools. So my
Oh yeah.
parents were city slickers. They moved around a lot within town. My dad was into real estate or whatever, had a couple houses. So to move and be the new kid from the city in high school, man, my second day, study hall was hell for me. I hit a kid with a desk. It was horrible. I had some racist stuff happen to me. So the bullying thing is huge, huge. That's a great point. I just wanted to put that out. But connect us to where you got in and out of the franchise. Like you were hooked with MMPR, went through that, and then give us the fallout, the reconnect. Then you started doing cons. Give us all the ins and outs.
I honestly don't think I ever fell out of it. I mean, every new season that came out, I would meticulously watch like
Right.
the Disney era every Saturday morning on Fox Kids. I
Oh
would
yeah.
be literally sitting at my TV just doing, when is it coming on? When is it coming on? Is it
Oh
on
yeah.
yet? Is it on
Serial
yet?
ready.
Because I mean, that was the time frame that everything really was like good.
Yeah. It's true. It was a time to be alive back then. It really was.
it was a trip. I'm gonna say, like, I'm old enough, boys and girls watching, where Thundercats was still on TV. Okay, and I'm not talking about reruns. I'm talking about the show was still going.
In the
Okay,
80s.
so
Yeah.
I remember before Fox became Fox, when it was just this random channel 11 in Southern California. And then I remember when it became Fox, the original shows were the Tracy Ullman show, and she had that segment with the Simpsons, and that's how they got put out in the channel. And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and I
later
love The
on you had All
Simpsons.
My Children, Married with Children, and then you had the Simpsons. kind of coming, and it was getting set up. And then they talked about having the Saturday or the kids network. They started with some reruns, and then they started to build that up, and then eventually you got a Batman the animated series and a Tiny Toons and all that, and took off. And the whole thing started ramping up because Batman was such a big hit. They were kind of like, well, we're going to try something we tried back in the late 80s, which was Pride of the X-Men. Pride of the X-Men was one episode, and it was an episode of Marvel's RoboCop. They had stopped the last episode, took that money, and produced Pride of the X-Men, and it was based upon the 70s era of the team. So you had Nightcrawler, Colossus, Professor X, Kitty Pryde, Wolverine, Storm. For some reason, they put Dazzler on the team instead of Jean Grey, but whatever. And they did one episode, and it didn't go because they didn't promote it, and they didn't have any figures. They didn't just do anything. So then Fox decided to try the X-Men, but in the current day team, and mainly based on X-Men Blue and Gold team. And then they put that out, and we all know that blew up. And then that led to Power Rangers getting a second shot, because they were trying to push a lot of those Zentai shows. And Power Rangers hit, and I was there, and it was like, you got the 5 Rangers, right? And it was like this, and it was, it had the kids' interest. It was going, but then here comes a young Tommy Oliver, and then it went like that. And I was right there.
Yeah, Green with Evil really popped the lid off. Anyone says otherwise, that's a lie, y'all.
I was at Toys R Us when Green with Evil, the last episode just happened, and he got turned back into a good character. I was at Toys R Us that day because Power Rangers went off. It was right after, a little bit after 10:30. It was right in that slot of the 10:30 show. It was like X-Men, then Power Rangers, like around 10:30 California time. And then after that, around 11:30, I went to Toys R Us.
Because it was always about like 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, it was an afternoon for us.
They had that. I remember going to the store. They hadn't had any Green Ranger merchandise yet, but they had the 5 Rangers in the triangle cut boxes. 8, 7 inches. Those are the first ones. Yeah, and they had everything. Yeah, they had everything, and it wasn't like they weren't running out. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like when people are like, "Yeah, the 5 and the show," I was like, "No." It was still on the shelf. Once Green Ranger officially hit, then it went like this. And I was there, like I said, the day the last episode went, so it had not built yet. And I kid you not, the next week, it started ramping up like crazy. And then they had a sign over Toys R Us that said, "We do not have Power Ranger merchandise," a banner over it. It went crazy. You couldn't get candy. You couldn't get cards. You couldn't get a sock.
Well, I remember when I was in the 2nd grade, we were all, my friends and I, we were all talking about Power Rangers and stuff. And of course, some of my old girlfriends, I miss them dearly, but we all kind of drifted apart and went our separate ways when we got older. But, we were all talking about what ones were our favorites.
Right.
And, I was like, well, I have 2. I have Jason and I have David. And the thing is I use them as their real names, and everyone was like, "Wait, you love the Red Ranger?" And I'm like, "No." He played Tommy. Jason. Oh, Mr. Hottie. I'm like, so even then, like, we were all my friends, we all did different stuff, but I guess because of the fact that, especially as we got older, we knew everything more, but I'd always loved, green and blue. And I mean, I loved Kimberly as a character. I've always loved Amy. She was definitely one of my favorite, actresses growing up. And especially since really Power Rangers was her breakout for what I knew. I was never really into the others You know, everyone's like, "Oh, well, you should have loved, the Red Ranger," and I'm like, he was a tool bag. Even then,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no, like, don't
Right.
act macho leader and think everyone should be gun ho follow your lead. Sorry, not sorry. But then again, I also fell in love with, how, Walter's character kind of evolved towards
Yeah.
the end.
I was a Black Ranger fan. He was always my second. And once I saw the battle axe and he caught it and he went like that and it was a gun too,
Mm-hmm.
Black Ranger was
Walter
it
was
for me.
super popular.
Oh, yeah.
His weapon alone, and then the Mastodon was the arms. He was kind of the most important part of the Zord too.
Yes.
So I'm like, nah, the
He
Black
really
Ranger is
was.
cool for sure. And then once Adam came around, I'm like, oh, I even like him better than Walter. So that was it for me. The Black Ranger was always black and green for me.
Yes.
So you're leaving
Those
somebody out. You got to talk about Twee Train.
Oh yeah. But she died so early on, like, and she left the show too. So I feel like Twee got tainted a little bit, her legacy.
See, for me, I loved her in The Crow. I loved her in The Crow.
Yeah.
Power Rangers, I thought she gave a great energy to it for being mellow.
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved her in The Crow. I mean, Twee definitely gave that charisma. I wish, she was still here.
I feel like she'd be
Because
as
I
big as
think
Amy is now.
if not bigger.
She'd be in her level, if not close, I think so.
Yeah.
I think she probably would have been bigger than Amy. Not to discredit Amy at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because Amy has done amazing for herself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when it comes to how different things are, the whole franchise itself, Twee chose to do her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not to discredit her because she definitely is an amazing actress. I wish she was still here because I know she would have gone further. But I absolutely loved her in The Crow. I cannot say that anymore. She was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see the interview with her friend Angela that survived the car accident? Did you see the video where she talked about the whole thing?
I didn't.
It is a trippy interview because she was in the car and she in great detail talks about like what happened to Twee, like how she died and like her last like words and like everything. Like,
and that probably haunts her until she goes.
Well, she's paralyzed. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I knew that the survivor was hurt. And I knew she was paralyzed, but I mean, knowing what you know, I mean that's gonna live with you until you die. Like there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing about it. And Twee didn't wear seatbelts. That was part of the problem. She never wore seatbelts. So when this whole thing went down, it didn't go well.
Yeah, it's a sad story. Same with Left Eye too. TLC, Left Eye Lopez, same thing, Car
that's that group of the three girls, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Waterfall.
Okay. T-Boz, Chili, Left Eye.
Okay,
Left
my
Eye
sister
was the one.
listened to them.
But the thing is, though, both Left Eye and Aaliyah both had tragic passings way too early in their careers.
Well, Aaliyah was murdered. Aaliyah was murdered. A lot of people don't know that. Aaliyah was murdered. I know the plane went down, but they knew the weight limit of the plane. We won't get into that, but I've got some music industry knowledge. But basically, there's a huge conspiracy because a lot of people wanted her behind the scenes.
Jaguar Wright has given so much knowledge.
Yeah.
Like she completely has turned the tables on Diddy.
Yes, and everything else in the industry. Facts. If you follow any of that, go support to Jaguar.
I mean, Jaguar has definitely made it very clear of what really happened to both the
And she was
downfall of
with Williams
TLC.
for a while. She dated him, I think. So
Uh-huh.
she has a lot of insight, and so I mean, that's interesting on a side note. If you want to get into that stuff,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
One
you guys
thing,
got me on that one.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
got me.
There's a lot
I
of
didn't
history.
listen to any rap boys and girls.
well, Aaliyah was actually in. Oh, I cannot remember the movie right now, but she
Oh,
played a
the
very
vampire
Damn,
one.
right?
Yeah, Queen of the Damned, I think.
yes. She played the queen,
Yeah.
and that would have been her breakout into the industry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's
just
the
like,
thing. There was a lot of dirty industry stuff going on, and she got drugged before she got on the plane.
oh
They
yeah,
carried
I
her on the
mean,
plane without her knowing. That's the
that would
story
not
of the street.
surprise me at all. I
Yeah.
mean, looking at who was behind all of it would not surprise me one bit.
But I enjoy conspiracy theories because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. So it's
That
like
is true.
going into some sci-fi stuff. So going into all of that, but
It
yeah,
becomes a
continue.
Twilight Zone effect.
Yeah, continue on. So where was your next resurgence in the franchise? Like where was like, all right, this is Rangers. This feels like Rangers again. For me, it was Dino Thunder. That's when I really got excited for the season.
Mine was Ninja Storm.
Oh yeah, obviously. Well, that's old school. That's another era, right? That's this pre-Saban era. So obviously, Ninja Storm, Space, Time Force. Those are all classic seasons to me. Those are the OGs.
Right.
Like those are the top 5 dead or alive for me.
Ninja Storm brought me back fully
Yeah.
because I was also into watching, Naruto, Blood
Yeah.
Plush, Trendy Blood, Eureka 7, Bleach, Death Note. I was into watching all of them right at that same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, I need something that's going to combat the same feeling as Naruto does.
Mm-hmm.
And they announced Ninja Storm. I was like, let me take a look. Let me see how I feel about it. Is it going to give me the same fire as Naruto does? And true to its word, it did.
Yeah, Ninja,
And
good season.
the history behind the ninjas definitely was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Which then brought me back into it fully and watching from Ninja Storm all the way up to Mega Force.
So no Turbo, no Zeo, right? We're skipping right over those because I skip over those. Other than the Black Ranger, the Black and Gold Ranger, Zeo and Turbo, you can have both of them. I'm good. Even the Turbo movie, I'm just
I was up with everything until Lost Galaxy.
yeah.
If
That
I
had
remember
moments.
correctly. If
Juice
I
and that
remember
the Lost
correctly.
Galaxy. He's always telling me don't sleep on that season.
It's a good season, but I tell people this: the characters, except for
No, excuse
Corone.
me. Wild. Actually, no. I see. The thing was, mine went Mighty Morphin,
Yeah.
then In Space to Wild Force. Wild Force was mostly in for me, but
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Storm fully brought me back up until Mega Force.
So also you're a Mega Force fan.
No.
Oh, okay. What were you
I
saying
mean,
about Lost Galaxy real quick, Drew? Hold on.
Oh,
He was saying something about
I
Lost
say
Galaxy. What's he
I
saying?
say this is what I say. It's a great season, but I
Yeah.
couldn't connect with the characters except for Corone because she came from In Space and
Right.
we knew her story and she had a really cool story. But these guys, they kind of felt a little disconnected. The show was good, but I just felt that the characters I couldn't connect with them. Like I saw In Space, I connected with Zane I connected with Andros. I connected with Grown or Stronema, whichever name you want. I connected with each one. They kind of were a team, and they like, you felt for them. And if one of them got hurt, you were concerned. But like Lost Galaxy was kind of like, it's a good season, but I couldn't connect. Didn't make me want to get the figures. Like In Space wanted me to like, oh, I want to buy the figures and a morpher. Lost Galaxy, I didn't buy anything. Like it's good, but it didn't connect with you.
It didn't. But then again, too, like for me, I kind of fell in love with the fact that it kind of was a bring back of, In Space in a different light.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also reminded me of that kind of a Battlestar Galactica feel.
Oh yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
Lost World, Terra Nova or something,
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like for me, I'm watching and I'm like, okay, Lost Galaxy is a mix between Doctor Who, and Going Everywhere, and Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
and I'm like, all right, I can get used to it. It wasn't my
new Battlestar, right?
Huh?
You talk about the new Battlestar, right? Not the 1970s, because I was a fan of the 1970s. Because again, I'm old, so
I loved Edward at Almost on
I've
it.
met Edward James Olmos. He's a good dude.
I fell in love with him as an actor, watching him in Selena.
Yeah.
I go back to Miami Vice and Blade Runner. I'm old. When I met him, I'm gonna tell you guys something. When I met him, you know what he told me? I was on my way to a panel for the movie I was working on, and I saw him, and I said, "Mr. Olmos, I gotta go, but I wanted to come over and see you. I'm hoping I get a chance by the time this panel's done. But you really inspired me. Loved you in Blade Runner. Loved you in Miami Vice. As Castillo. You were awesome. You were it." And he put his hand up like this to stop me, and it's like the whole place just stopped talking when he put his hand up, and he said, "Young man, listen, there will be time. There will be time for us to talk. There will be time for us to get together. There will be time for us to do all these things. Do you understand?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's all, "Then we will talk." And he's all, "Now go to your panel and enjoy."
Yeah.
And he said, "And I love you, and I'll see you when you get back. I'll be right here." And I went, "Okay." That's what he told me.
Yeah. That was actually very similar to my interaction with James Davy Reese. And, meeting him at GalaxyCon Richmond, because I did the one day just, goof off event at Richmond last year. And that's how I met him. And he had a long line, and I wanted to go to a panel, but he actually brought me back up. Once he saw I was in line, he said, "Come back up, skip the line."
Oh wow.
He was a sweetheart. And he's like, he did tell me, he's like, out of all of my quotes, your boyfriend's family had to choose one from every freaking Gimli I was in. Because my boyfriend's family loves Lord of the Rings, Gimli in particular. So I had said, okay, I will get you these, but you have to pay me back for them. And they actually were like, okay, here's the money.
Right.
So they did that. That was the one thing. And when I met him, yes.
Nice.
Gimli.
Nice. So, all right. Well, let's get back on the Ranger timeline, right? We skipped Lost Galaxy, Space.
Can I give
Space is beloved. Space and Time
Space
Force
is. Can I talk about real quick a backstory about Zeo?
Sure.
Backstory about Zeo, guys. I think this is real important because I was there when all this happened. Just to give you guys some context on this, because I want to point this out because listen, guys, a lot of people like, oh yeah, Zeo, and when they were continuing on the Power Ranger and the Ninjetti thing, like when it was going on, I was there. The Ninjetti thing did work, and it did. Yeah. But then they did the little sparkly suit thing, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
The show was going like this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
and then they went to Zeo.
Going to the Shogun mode.
Yeah. They did that in the Alien Rangers. and
Right.
nobody was feeling the Alien Rangers. When I
No,
was
Well,
a
the
kid,
voice
nobody
the
was feeling them.
annoying. They look
Alien
weird.
Rangers were only supposed to be a 4-episode
Yeah.
system. It was never supposed to be anything more.
Yeah.
But then they realized we could work in a few more episodes and made it 10 episodes. So Alien was only supposed to be like integrated into the standard episodes to begin with. I actually had that conversation with Alan, who I love dearly. He and I have had, we've chopped it up on quite a few occasions regarding Alien and everything.
It was the voices for me. It was just intolerable. Intolerable, and they looked weird. You could tell, like just the makeup, everything. Even though the suits were amazing, but the Zords and the actual Rangers outside the suits look horrible.
No, that was the thing. It was dying. You know, it was starting to go down, guys. And by the time we got to Zeo, I remember I was in junior high by the time Zeo had come out. And I remember in junior high, nobody was talking about it except for one kid, because Austin had come back as the Gold Ranger, and he was excited about that because
that was the worst mistake.
That was it. I didn't
That
hear
was the worst mistake. They should have put Billy as the Gold. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Billy had more of an integral part within that current time frame than Jason did. Jason was out of the game for what, 3.5 years at that point? 4 years, I think they said. Because they were freshmen when they did Mighty Morphin, right?
Well, I think the story was JDF's brother was supposed to take up that mantle.
The whole story was Yost wasn't gonna, because he had the problems on set. So it didn't look like it was going to go to him.
They would give him that party.
JDF's brother was in the running until he messed up too many times and he got sent to the peace conference.
Yeah.
And then Brad Hawkins, you know, that was being talked about because, you know, he was supposed to be the White Ranger originally. So he voiced him. So there was talks to him kind of coming in with that as well.
Well, he did the voice for Gold.
Yeah.
For Morph Gold.
Yeah.
Which was actually quite nice. I loved that. And that's why, like, you know, I've noticed people have said Brad is the OG Gold because of him voicing it.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
No,
well,
that's true.
I just want to interject too, right? What we're talking about in the timeline is where the Ninjetti movie's going to start. Right around season 3, before we got into Alien Rangers, right? It's like season 3. We veered off into this part of the timeline, which is what we got. And then my timeline is going to start right at season 3.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, what are you looking at? Are you doing like kind of the same branch off with how, you know, the Ninjetti was?
I'm breaking off from season 3 and focusing on Ninjor and the origin of the ancient amulets and then of the Ninjetti. And then that's going to be about the temple.
Okay, the Guardian's Temple.
And expand on the lore of Thanos. So the whole first movie is going to be how Ninjor went back to Thanos after the movie and basically make the 95 movie and season 3 come together as canon. And then Ninjetti will be the glue to put them together.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, the Mighty Morphin movie, while I loved who they put as Dulcia, I think Mariska Hargitay should have been her.
Oh, I'd love to bring her back. Me and Drew talk about that all the time.
I mean, that right there would have put her on Law and Order SVU is phenomenal. I love her. You can't tell me my Olivia Benson does not rock.
Yeah, I was thinking this time with what's her name, Marissa, have her be like a Tomb Raider type character that lives on Thanos.
Okay.
You know, and then of course the Tengus would come back. Return of the Ooze is the second one. So, you know what I mean? I'm already leading on to where after the temple falls, where we're gonna go. and then they all come together after the temple falls for the power, and it's ooze, hopefully. So, you know, the writing is coming together nice. And as I'm rewatching old seasons and reworking canon and looking for pockets and, you know, holes in the stories to fill in and where I want to branch off, I'm rebuilding the tree, rebuilding the timeline. So I'm almost like a real world TVA for the franchise. You know what I mean?
It works.
It does. It does. And Power Rangers is perfect for that, because that's exactly what Marvel's doing with the TVA and Loki and going in and out of stuff like that. So I feel like Rangers, we can do the same thing. So my idea is to basically George Lucas, Russo brothers, and Kevin Feige this thing, because they're just a mess, you know. And if you have the stuff you need, you can get it done. So you guys can keep cooking though. But season 3, right? Ninjetti. We talked about Zio, right? Zio's kind of definitely a fall off for the grid. Zio was
that's what I was gonna say, that nobody was feeling it. Like, I mean, the show was dying, and then by the time the Turbo movie hit, I remember when it came out in theaters and everybody was just laughing. It was a joke. Nobody wanted it. Yeah. And those replacements they had from and for Selwyn Ward and everybody coming in, nobody was feeling that Turbo right there, like at all. Like they were.
Turbo was a letdown. And then what was after Turbo? You guys remember?
In Space. It went into In Space. And In Space was supposed to be the last one, actually. It was supposed to be the last Mighty Morphin season. They said, this is it. If this doesn't work, well, we're already shutting it down. But it was really well done. People loved it, connected with the characters like they did with Mighty Morphin in a way. And so they really put their time into that. And that's one of the greatest seasons. I mean, the Psycho Rangers and everything. And, them revealing their identities to the public the way they did. It was a big deal.
Well, I think, too, they were also thinking, let's go out with a bang. I mean, just like other series, when they finally have said, we're ending, let's go out with a bang. I think Pretty Little Liars actually is a great one on that. Let's end that, let's end the whole season and whole series with the biggest cliffhanger of all cliffhangers. And it not only was a shock on who A truly was, but also it was a shock to know the storyline between A and the rest of the cast. And that's the thing. I am not giving any spoilers. So, if you want to watch it, please watch the whole series from the beginning to the end. Don't skip.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there may be some spots where you're like, why is this a thing? You're a teacher, that's a student, that should be no-nos. Again, it's television. If you take it too literal, it's going to be wrong. But I mean, then again, there was also a lot of things that were done in secret. Even now, you take what you do in real life and you can put it on television. So yeah, are there relationships that shouldn't be ethically done? Yeah. But other times there are. So if you want, watch the series, see what you think. But between that, Supernatural, the Vampire Diaries universe, all of them kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, they all can interconnect with each other on different levels for the new generation. Right. Now, if you want to go old generation and everything, Xena the Warrior Princess, Hercules the Legendary Journey.
Oh, yeah. Love that stuff.
Young Hercules. Those shows had different ways about it. I mean, both Xena and Hercules brought, a world of mythology that kids didn't know about. I doubt kids really wanted to, in school learn about Greek mythology. But watching it on Xena, everyone wanted to.
Kevin Sorbo. You know, go ahead, Drew.
I was reading Greek mythology before that show came out. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was
But it was
into warriors and stuff like that. So I was reading.
When they put it on late night UPN, remember they were running the back to back. It was Hercules then Xena from 9 o'clock to like 11. You know, it was nuts. It was nuts. UPN 9 late night, and then in the morning they had Pokemon at 7 a.m. right before school. So that was my out to UPN.
You guys are talking about some stuff after, because I remember the show started. It was on the Action Pack.
Yeah,
it was on the Action Pack on KTLA is how it started.
But the rerun, it had a run. It had a run again during the rerun.
Yeah, they did have a run again. That's like when they first aired it. It was on the Action Pack. It was.
See, the West Coast had it on Action Pack. East Coast had it on.
That's why I remember it the most. UPN late night, right before Nick at Night and all that stuff.
It was on.
I watched Nick at Night after that.
It was on what became the Disney Channel network, because Comcast, well, Xfinity, switched up their channel lineups. So what became Disney used to be Action Adventures.
Oh, I remember.
And it had Xena, Hercules. It had Hawaii Five-0. It had Knight Rider. It had, I think, Blue something.
I even remember MacGyver. MacGyver used to come on late at night too.
Yes, it also had MacGyver.
Gosh, you guys are aging me. They were still making new episodes of MacGyver.
MacGyver was a thing,
I will be 30 next Saturday. Well, this coming Saturday, the 7th. I will be 30.
But that's what I'm saying. There's no passion for these kids for any of these franchises.
No, the new generation has no idea.
Yeah,
no,
they talk to 30 to 40-year-olds. You're like, what did you grow up? What did you love? Like, we have these conversations. You talk to these kids now, they're like, what did they have? Like Toonami, maybe? Like, you know, old school.
Toonami. Toonami was already gone by the time, because my youngest cousin will be 13 this December, and my second youngest will be 14 in October. And you know, watching them, and I'm like, what are y'all talking about? They're talking about Bluey. They're talking about all these new anime shows. And I'm like, and then she's like, oh yeah, DuckTales. And I'm like, oh, you mean the cool 90s version, the one that actually was ducks? They're like, no, they look like bobbleheads. And I'm like,
yeah, it's
no. We do not. That is not. No, that and Teen Titans Go should not exist.
Yeah, like Sanjay and Craig. What's the other one? Rick and Morty. It's a different time.
Rick and Morty is good. To the stoner generation. Yeah. I love you, Rican.
Remember Ed, and Eddie?
Oh my God. Cow and Chicken, Cat Dog, the original Powerpuff Girls.
The Nicktoons was an era too. Rocko's Modern Life, Arnold, Our Real Monsters, you know, like we had everything. Yeah. We had everything, you know.
I was getting older by that time. Boys and girls, I'll be 42 this upcoming year in March. So I was.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I also watched Winx Club. Now, mind you, Winx Club was on, I think it was on the 4Kids network. And of course, the Italian version was by Rainbow Entertainment. That was my middle school years. My 6th through 8th grade years was all Winx Club. And my two best friends, Alicia and Danielle, we've kind of separated, gone our different ways in life, but we still talk all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we started reminiscing a couple weeks ago about, you know, how we would always do our 3-way phone calls while watching it and screaming about different things and just fangirling. And, you know, they remade it and made it Fate the Winx Saga on Netflix, and they completely tarnished what the Winx Club stood for. And completely, I mean, revamping the shows, revamping the classics,
Right.
it takes away the magic. And, you
It
know,
does.
Disney is right now a very big culprit of that, of taking away the magic.
Yeah,
So
bringing out the nostalgia is what they're doing. That's what we were talking about last show. Bringing out the nostalgia,
Yeah.
making the money, but they're not putting the passion into franchise. I mean, I was a Salute Your Shorts era. Remember Salute Your Shorts? That was a
I
simple
do
show.
remember that. Yeah.
That was kids at away camp, you know, going through kids
yes.
stuff. Like you don't get no simpler than that. Boy Meets World, that type of stuff. Like
No, and
you
I
know,
actually met
Goodyear,
most
Saved
of
by
the
the
cast
Bell.
of Boy Meets World.
Rangers had a Saved by the Bell feel. That's why. That's what it was.
Yes. And I actually met most of the old cast of Boy Meets World at GalaxyCon Richmond last year.
Mm-hmm. Classic movies. Wayne's
And I
World is
actually got Will Friedle signature on my Kim Possible backpack.
But see, that
And
was the MTV movie era. Remember Joe's Apartment with the roaches, Idle Hand, all those kind of movies. Like,
don't even get me started on old MTV, because
yeah,
right now MTV is not MTV that it should be.
yeah.
MTV, VH1, they're all that new age reality TV bullshit.
I know.
I'm
Remember
sorry, I
Pop
don't
Up
want to
Video, Drew?
see.
I remember pop-up video. I
Pop Up
do.
Video
I
on
did. I
VH1.
did
Come
see
on now.
pop-up video. I
You
watched
know,
Liquid Television. You watched Liquid Television? I
oh
watched
my god, Liquid Television was good.
So
watched
just
Liquid
watching
Television.
Rangers and the way we go through everything, it's like Rangers changed so much. Look at everything else too. You know, that dropped
Yeah.
off. Rangers was
The
able to
Brothers
kind of,
Grunt.
even though it was whack for a while, Rangers was able to transcend through and stay alive, even the whack season.
And that's the thing. I think, you know, Power Rangers was the start for so many different things to come about,
Right.
especially for the US. I mean, Japan was already a million light years ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to give every bit of credit to Japan, because between the anime, the TV shows that they were creating for kids
Mm-hmm.
was so much more than what the US is doing. And they're not revamping shows that were already out there and putting them in a totally bad light now. They're not recreating classics into that negativeness.
Right.
Well, let's
Actually, I
say,
remember watching Huntic Secrets and Seekers.
Oh yeah.
guys, remember Japan saw this, and this kind of greenlit a whole factory of things yet to come.
Star
When
Wars.
this young Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
stepped on the scene.
Star Wars sold a lot of toys.
It did. It moved them to think of ideas, and then you ended up with a lot of animes that were kind of Luke Skywalker like characters and things. You know, they kind of sparked, because then it made creativity really happen at a big level. So then out came Transformers and everything, and they wanted smaller figures like Star Wars, and out came the new generation of G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, because it went from 12-inch to 3 3/4 because of the Star Wars size. So it was like there was this explosion of anime shows that were translated in English, brought the Mysterious City of Gold and stuff like that, and Voltron, Robotech, of course, which I'm a big Robotech fan. Battle of the Planets, Star Blazers, Captain Harlock, all that stuff was coming out. Yeah, Ronin Warriors or Samurai Troopers, stuff like that. It was coming out, and they were really, really pushing a lot of that on the market. And then a lot of the American shows, depending on what they were, but a lot of them are collabed with Japanese artists.
Yes.
So the lifeblood is definitely Japan. But
Oh
continue,
yeah, for sure.
So I mean, after In Space and Time Force is one of my favorite seasons too. I love the Quantum Ranger, the Quantum Rex,
Oh yeah.
all that stuff. But after Time Force, what was after Time Force? Is that when Wild Force or what's after?
Lightspeed,
Wild Force,
Yeah, Lightspeed.
Lightspeed.
Lightspeed,
Lightspeed
and
was
then
a little bit before Time Force. It went Lightspeed
yeah.
Rescue, Time Force, then Wild Force. Because when the Time Force Rangers came back, they were on Wild Force to
Oh
help
yeah,
them.
that's right.
And then when Time Force was going, the Lightspeed Rescue team came to help them out.
Right.
They
Yes.
started doing those team ups when Lost Galaxy hit. That's when they were doing that. Because remember, In
Yeah,
Space
because
came
they
to help
did the
Lost
In
Galaxy.
Space Galaxy team
Yeah.
up.
And then they started that pattern of like the
Right.
previous season would come help the new season Rangers.
Yes.
One mistake though, they did not have Zane with the In Space reunion. I don't know why Justin Emo doesn't even know why they didn't put him there.
I was going to say, because everyone has asked Justin, and he has said the same thing. He's like, none of it made sense as to why I wasn't called back.
Yeah. Fun
Does
fact.
Brad Pitt clone look himself when he was younger?
So what is it about Wild Force? You said Wild Force is one of your favorite seasons. So what was it now that we're
That's a
on
good
Wild
question.
Force?
Yeah.
What was it about Wild Force? You know, and
So
what does the season have to have for you to make it good? Is it the Zords, the morphing sequence, the suits, the character development, the bad guy, like those type of things. So
for me, it was actually a tie between Merrick's character and, you know, the whole thing with the actual arc of him.
yeah.
Being the loner, being the one that is kind of the lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was bullied in high school, I was on my own. I wasn't there with a lot of it. I didn't really have that friendship with a lot of the popular kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of went with him. Like, he was my favorite then, and he still is now.
Yeah. And this is Wild Force you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta finish that season too. I started watching it, got halfway through, and veered off in the other seasons. But that is a fan favorite, and I like the animal theme seasons too.
Yes,
So
the animal themes are definitely good. Actually, wolves are my favorite animal.
yeah.
So that is kind of a big thing. I know everyone's like, "Oh, well, you should love the cheetah because they're the fastest," but I'm like, no. Wolves stay to packs.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have a pack that I love, that I can be with, than a cheetah that is fine on their own.
And I think wolves are the only animals that take care of their parents. Like as a wolf ages and gets older, like in doggy years, I think the older wolves stay in the den and the younger ones feed them, bring back food. They almost like honor their parents. They have like a code within them. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. Wolves are, and it's one of the only animals you don't see in the circus is a wolf.
That's
So it's
because they
like
are known
say,
for their danger effect. I mean, yes, lions and tigers are always going to be known for that danger, but they're also known for their paws.
right.
I mean, their paws and their claws. That's their killer instinct, is
Mhm.
to swipe at anything. Same with bears. It's their instinct to straight on attack with their brute strength, whereas a wolf and also a fox, they use their skill to hide first
Intellect.
and
They're
then
intellectual
attack.
hunters. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Jaguars are the same way. They use their intellectual hunting skill to hide before they'll strike.
Well, the animal seasons are great because they tie into the sacred animals and the Ninjetti. Awesome. So there's definitely going to be cameos and love for the animal seasons. I mean, Beast Morphers, the Cyclone sequence, the Morphing sequence, Ninja Storm. Basically, the ancient amulets are going to be in the belt. They can turn the belt for multiple morph modes, and then they pull the amulet out, hit it on the wrist, they aim up, they shoot a cyclone up, and then, you know what I mean, the animal spirit comes down. So I have an idea what I want to do for a morphin sequence, but it's definitely a homage to Ninja Storm, Beast Morphers, Wild Force, all the animal seasons. So that I definitely want to do, is make sure that homage and that cyclone is in there. You know, elemental powers. How you feel about the citizen powers? You know, before we get to Dino Thunder, I definitely want some of that in the movie. You know, so what's after Wild Force? Is that Samurai? Are we into Samurai yet? That era yet?
No.
After Wild Force?
I think at that point we are in the Disney era.
Right, which I think was
right.
Samurai, wasn't
Yeah, because Disney era was Ninja Storm to Samurai, Super Samurai.
Yeah.
Let me actually see.
I believe
Disney series. Disney was Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic, Overdrive, Jungle Fury, RPM, and Samurai.
Oh, okay. So Wild Force is different than Jungle Fury. That's right. We forgot about Jungle. Let's go from Wild Force to Jungle Fury. Was that directly after? Was there one in between?
So for me, like I mean, I loved the Disney era of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
The full Disney era was like my go-to, and actually, my best friend Tony, who's in the Army, and I both got Master Stripes together. His is actually on his forearm. I was actually at that time working for Amazon, so I could not, and because of the fact that I was constantly, using my arms, doing a lot of heavy lifting. So I was like, I don't want to get a tattoo where it can rub and then I can end up, ruining the work.
Right.
So that was kind of like the big thing. So I'm like,
so you have a Wild Force tattoo. That's a Wild Force tattoo?
Nope, that's the Jungle Fury Master Stripes.
Oh, yes, right. Jungle Fury.
That's the Paisha Master right there.
Oh, nice.
I loved it. Actually, I love, stripes in general. I love the slash effect that they give. So for me, I was like, you know what? That's a great way to have a best friend's tattoo, to have the matching Paisha stripes.
Now, Stephanie, I got to ask you, if you don't mind, Rican and Stephanie coming in, you said you're getting bullied at school. Like, did you eventually get some martial arts skills there and use some of that Power Ranger action to back you up, over there? Because me as a martial art kid, I had to ask about that.
Oh, yeah.
So, funny thing with that. There was a situation that happened my freshman year of high school. I kind of fell in with a little bit of a rough crowd.
Okay.
The guy ended up, I was 14 at the time. He was 19. He somehow got it in his twisted mind that he wanted me. And he would write me notes. And I mean, they were really weird. To the point where, it was creepy. I'm not going to lie on it. It was definitely creepy. I tried to ignore it. I wasn't going to pursue anything on it because I was like, he'll just leave me alone. He'll kind of do next year somebody else is going to catch his eye. He'll leave me alone.
Right.
Who I thought was a good friend of mine, who I thought was a sister, she took those notes, showed them to her parents. Her parents then called my mother, and then it snowballed into legal issues. It then turned into him having her dad having a stack of papers about yay big of messages between him and her daughter. And I'm like, all right, this dude's now, I guess he didn't want to stay with her, so he chose me. It was then, there's a predator in your midst, he's a predator, to the school system, so the school system took action. And I was then labeled a rat, a snitch, and everything else. It's been years since I've talked about it, and it still gets to me because it's like, I was the youngest of the group. I was the most vulnerable. So I wish I had more protection. I mean, my mother was a mama bear. Like she went full on the whole, I mean, New York for her, she went full gun ho. And while I loved her dearly, I mean, there are times we both fight. But I couldn't be more proud of the fact that I had her on my side because it kept me going. I mean, I hated going to court. I hated being in the courtroom. And yeah, he did get put on the registry. I don't know if he's still on the registry. But because of the fact that at this point, I mean, I was over the age of 18, I think all those records are sealed. I hope they are, at least. Because I'd rather not have to look at anything with them. But from my sophomore year until my junior year, I was bullied to the point where I was almost thrown down a set of stairs. So I flipped over. I kind of used my parkour skills and flipped over the one that pushed me down, and I shoved her down the stairs instead. 27 stairs.
Oh shoot! Concrete?
No, these went from our auditorium. So the way my school was set up, we went from the main level, which was the auditorium, downstairs and everything to get to like the pods, which was pretty much trailer classrooms. And we went that way, but it was 27 stairs. And she knew what my time frames were to go down them. So she waited and she tried to fight with me on the staircase. And I wasn't having it that day. I don't know what was going on, but I wasn't in the mood to deal with it. I told her to leave me alone. She wouldn't. She grabbed my hair. And the next thing I know, I was still standing on the top of the stairs. And she was down at the bottom stair, staring at me with disbelief. I don't remember. I've honestly, I think I've blocked a lot of it out because it was a bad time in my life. I hated bullies. That's why it's like now, I see anything, I'm like, no, we're not playing that game.
It's a trigger.
Because there's no point. Yeah, it is. And there's no point in keeping, that mindset. And I ran into her actually about a month ago. And she was like, I don't know why we ever fell out of being friends. And I looked right at her. I said, how about attempted murder?
Right.
How about you making my life hell for all of our high school years? How about you literally putting fucking dead rats in my locker?
Yeah.
I mean, like, really?
True.
I don't know why we fell out of connection. I don't know why we weren't friends in high school still. You were the cause of it. Like, don't play that.
Excuse me. It's hard to talk about those things.
That's crazy.
It is. I guess that's why, I really, especially with everything with Austin St. John, I've taken more of a stand because I've seen what the little person goes through. I was that person. And to know that, I couldn't talk about a lot of stuff when I was younger. It sucked. it sucked knowing that, I couldn't trust people. And the people I did trust ended up betraying me in the worst way possible. So that's
Right.
where I turned out. And TV shows became my outlet.
Mm.
You know, I can't, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say my life was sunshine and flowers and dandelions because it sure as hell wasn't. I know
Right.
my childhood was nowhere near as rough as somebody else's, but I know my childhood was definitely rough in school. At
Mhm.
home, I had my mom and my grandparents. That was it.
Mhm.
Didn't
Well,
have my dad. Didn't care.
right, right. Well, it's enough proof for me, which is why we do this. I want to wrap up a little bit soon for Drewski here,
Yeah.
but I do want to
I'm
kind
good.
of.
I'm good.
You sure?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want you
Yeah,
to get.
I'm
You
in.
look like you're fading a little bit. I'm starting to
No,
worry.
man. I'm just
Yeah, he
old.
was actually more intent. He was
Oh,
he was
okay.
focused.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm in.
No,
It's
I
the
just
shade
want
of
to.
my hat.
Yeah, I just want to lock into the bullying part because, like we said earlier, Rangers has such a trauma response,
Hmm.
and to see you go to tears over it, like it's in there. You know what I mean? It's still in there. How many years later? So to talk about Power Rangers and to bring you to tears proves my point because you're not the only one. And we talk to a lot of people about Power Rangers and it triggers them like this, and it's like, man, I remember that time running towards the show because everything I was going through, it was such an escape. So it's fine, we love it. This is why we wanted you to come on, because on top, y'all guys know how Laura is and everyone affiliated with the show. A lot of people we talk to, this is what happens. I know for me, it was the same thing. My parents were city slickers. They weren't around. My house was a ghost town. So I was running to my homie's house every time, Power Rangers was on. I was sleeping over there every weekend because he was doing what Drew was saying. He'd go watch the show. His dad would get him all the toys because his dad owned the restaurant and he wasn't around. So I had no brothers. So Power Rangers at my homie's house down the block, when his dad was never around, he had two sisters. I had two sisters. We became Rangers. You know what I'm saying? That's what saved me from the trauma of being in this huge 5-bedroom house, tri-level in Bayonne, New Jersey, that we got from family that, they were making all this money in the city. They were not around. That's trauma
Oh
for a
yeah.
child. So to learn all those lessons and have all those things, how to deal with bullies and everything, it's important, I think. So while Power Rangers is going to evolve into something adult and that it has to soothe the inner kid. That right there that you're going through that has us reaching for the tissues. This movie, this saga, what we do has to hit those kind of resonators inside so that it's okay for us to have this kind of stuff in our movies now. Almost grow up with us. Like that trauma has to grow up with us in the
Oh
movies,
yeah.
bullying, all that kind of stuff. It can't just be a Michael Bay action sequence after action sequence, poor writing, bad CGI. It has to be able to get to people like the show has, like
Like
what
a
we're
good
experiencing
like
right now.
my good friend Erin, she told it to me the other week.
Mhm.
Um, because she's been watching like the new Lara Croft Tomb Raider and
Yeah,
everything. She's like, looking at what Tomb Raider was with Angelina Jolie and everything, and looking at it what it is now, it's two different things. Like they're not as cohesive. And I'm like,
yeah.
huh,
It's a spirit. It's a spirit and an energy within the show. The people writing it, right, Steph, are not connecting. Like the way that you could talk about Power Rangers and trigger an emotional response and connect, the writers are not doing that. They're
oh
just
yeah.
not doing that. There's no connection, there's no passion, so we're not going to get this type of raw emotion and connection to the series like we would with something else because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing as far as connection. So connection and the spirit of the franchise has to be restored. And that's the point. That's why I'm saying as we go through the timeline, and then Jetty has to bring it back to formula. That's why it had to be H and Amulets, because we're going all the way back, full master reset, until it does what it's supposed to do for fans like that. Because you can't lose that. The ones
No.
that are connected to it, like you, have to fight for that, and we have to champion the good stuff. So
Well, it's just like with like other movies too.
right,
I mean,
true,
you got like Harry Potter, like, you know, with the connection the original movies had with what the new Fantastic Beasts have with the newer generation. I mean, it
right,
connects differently. I mean, each generation also connects differently to it.
yeah,
And I know, like, you know, my mom's generation
right,
definitely doesn't connect with pretty much anything that I've watched, or at
yeah.
least, you know, my mother. I love her.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the connection. Let's fast forward. Let's wrap up. Get to the end. We got Wild Force. You showed us the Jungle Fury tattoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're pulling up after Jungle Fury, right? Are we getting into Samurai, RPM, Dino
Yes.
Thunder? Real
So
quick, let's go through those real quick.
for me, I love Samurai because of it kind of brought back the whole ninja feel.
Yeah.
Actually, same with Ninja Steel.
Right, right.
Ninja, Samurai and Ninja Steel kind of were actually in the same field for me.
Yeah.
Um, they
Right.
both went back in time in a lot of ways with how Ninja Storm was.
Right.
So they're kind of right on that level too.
Mm-hmm.
Beast Morphers definitely brings back, you know, how different things are with, you know, animal.
Right.
And I love the fact that actually Dino Charge goes back in time too. It actually kind of brings back a
Mm-hmm.
mix of both Mighty Morphin and Dino Thunder.
Right.
So, and especially actually in the beginning of Dino Thunder, where, you know, they're dealing with the robotic, you know, dinosaurs and everything. It brought me back to that time frame. So that's where it's like those specific ones are right up there with how the older franchise was.
Right.
Um,
Real quick, what do you think, Drew? Do you want to tap in on any of those as we wrap up the last seasons? I want to get you
Of
engaged
course.
so you don't sit back a little bit. Think about Dino Thunder and where we're at with it. We're wrapping up the end of the seasons.
Well, the story about Dino Thunder and me was I had no idea JDF was coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of us did.
No, nobody knew. I just randomly saw it on Disney. Oh, look, Power Rangers. I was like, I haven't watched this in forever, you know? And I watched it and I was like, is that who I think it is?
Right.
And then they started saying his name. I said, oh, shoot. And then I was back in because he was there.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there and he was always wearing green. You know, he had green clothes all the time. And I thought that was cool too. And he,
Yeah.
you know, I love him kicking the Tyrannosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
He paid homage to who he was. He paid homage right to the very end. And I think that was why Dino Thunder was as popular as it was, because it brought back,
The
you
Dino
know,
era, really.
Tommy Oliver in the most amazing light.
Yeah, it did. The White
Yeah,
Ranger.
where were we
really
after?
cool
Where were
too.
we after Dino Thunder? I mean, Mystic Force was a kind of miss for me. I tried. I couldn't. You know, the magic. Some people like it. You know, Mega Force. Out of all the seasons that's left, right? We know we went through the classics.
Yeah.
What does a mass multiverse Ranger movie have to have? Which seasons out of everything we've discussed, even the ones at the end, right? Cosmic Fury, SPD, RPM. Who would you want to see out of everybody make the script? And then we'll let you close it out.
Already? Oh man.
Well, we'll definitely do another interview. Because I know this time we kind of went with one direction. Next time we'll go into the more of the con world.
Yeah, I think we're breaking up a little bit.
That was me. My voice was starting to go. I said this time we kind of went with one direction, so next time we'll go into like doing the con world and talking about that. But I think, I would love to see kind of a mix of, the dino worlds to come together.
Right, right.
I would love to see that. I think that would actually be pretty cool to kind of go into that era.
Right. Right. Put them all together. MMPR, Dino Thunder,
Yeah.
Cosmic
Dino
Fury,
Charge.
Dino Charge. No, definitely. Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Whoa. I think we lost Reekin for a moment.
Did we? Oh man.
Well, his is kind of circling.
Okay. Hopefully he should jump back in here.
Yeah,
in a second.
Yeah.
But, here he is.
My bad,
I got
guys.
you back.
It dropped me out. My bad. So I was saying the ninjas are gonna be in the beginning. We're gonna have the cosmic stuff and the dino stuff maybe in the middle, and then the car seasons as well. So I'm gonna handle it in phases and put all the similar themes hopefully together. You know what I mean? So that's the plan. And then each movie will have the 3 or 4 or 5 seasons that are themed. They'll have an element from each one and bring it all together. So that's the plan.
Well, I do want to kind of touch on one thing with that, actually. When you're wanting to do all of that, just don't, when you're wanting to phase all of them together,
right?
Don't do what Fast and Furious has done and jumped all over the place.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because if you look at it, Fast and Furious 1 and 4 kind of melded together. Then out of nowhere, you had Too Fast, Too Furious and Tokyo Drift. And Tokyo Drift actually is supposed to be in between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So it's like none of them kind of are cohesive.
Right.
So when you do it, just make sure everything flows perfectly. And I honestly think it'll be amazing.
Yeah, and I want to do some shows. Like I want to do the whole Disney Plus kind of MCU where I got some maybe shows running parallel in between the movies. So it's not all going to be cinematic universe. I want to do both.
I'd say don't do Disney Plus. One, from what I have seen, unless Disney changes its mantra on how everything goes, the creators of certain shows, they don't really get a whole lot out of it from the Disney side of it.
It might even start off as a YouTube series, but I mean, like as a format, like a show format. There's going to be both movies and shows and animation. I need all of it. Comics. It's got to be a whole reboot, a whole recharge. Taking out the cartridge, blowing it, put it back in the Nintendo. You know, that's kind of what's going on.
Well, that would be an amazing thing to see. But with that, I would say YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, or even Peacock. Because Peacock, with it being an NBC Universal, anybody that has Xfinity, Dish Network, Spectrum, and I think even Starlink can easily get Peacock Premium for no additional charge on top of their plan.
Yeah.
So as long as you have an active, for me, Xfinity account, I can get Peacock Premium for no additional charge.
Nice. Well, I want to see what the route that Aaron goes and see with White Dragon. That's why it's so important to see where the fan films go between Unworthy, White Dragon, and see how all this stuff ends up coming out, because then that'll help me evolve my grind and know how to give them Ninjetti.
Oh yeah, so. Unworthy I know was saying how they want to stick to YouTube for the time being.
Yeah.
And then branch out to doing different networks. But I think right now they're seeing a really big hit on YouTube because like YouTube Premium members, I mean, to be a part of that is so good too because all you have to do is say, hey, this is YouTube Premium content. Pay X amount a month and you'll get it. Or you could pay for individual episodes at this price, just like how Amazon does it.
No, definitely.
And I think that would be an amazing route for you because I think that right there would then showcase, okay, I could do per episodes breakdown or I could do per season breakdown too. Because that's how, because unfortunately right now, it's not on Amazon Prime, but that's how Cosmic Fury, if it were to go to Amazon Prime to buy, that's how that would go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I definitely like, we didn't even really get into half of the stuff we can get into with you. We're at an hour and a half. Like I said, Steph, you definitely got to come back. I don't mind doing a part 2 and a part 3 with you.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
So much knowledge and so much, we didn't even get through all the seasons with you, so I definitely want you to come back and tell us more Ranger stories, and we go through some more about the script, some more ideas and stuff like that, maybe get another guest with you, so the show keeps changing and evolving, but I love that you're such a diehard fan and that you have all the seasons, you know about the lore, you know about the knowledge. So if there's anything else, Drew, that you want to ask her and wrap up, maybe, real quick, Drew. Anything you want to ask Steph?
Yeah,
wrap up.
I got lots of stuff for Steph.
And last thoughts, yeah, because I'm just going. Step in whenever you want. I want to basically
I know.
wrap
you're
up with
flowing,
her.
Man. You're flowing. Yeah. I wanted you to flow.
Yeah, and come back because I feel like there's so much to unpack with Steph that we're just gonna run out of time because I can talk this shit forever. You know what I mean?
And that's what I love about you, man. You're passionate about it, and I want you to do that. What I did want to ask her was this.
Oh, okay.
Do you know about the announcement we made on the last show we did about what we want to do?
No.
Okay, so we came up with this. You're familiar with Sarah Brown, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she has a trippy story, and so she wants to kind of connect with fans, but she doesn't want to go to Saban affiliated or Saban people will be there at a convention. But she's talked about a reunion with VR Troopers. So I proposed, because time has gone on since that interview, I haven't heard anything. So I said, hey, put the word out on the street, tell your mom, tell everybody, VR Troopers reunion. We got to make this happen at a convention. And on top of the 3 VR Troopers, we also need Wendy Lee. Now, Wendy Lee played Red Python. She played the evil VR Trooper, right? They brainwashed her like Tommy. She's got to be there. So she should have been the 4th VR Trooper. It'd have been 2 boys, 2 girls. That would have been perfect. Plus, Ryan's character kind of liked her because we all know Caitlin was really fit for who? JB Reese.
Yes.
JB and her were kind of, they were more connected at that. So it was like, Ryan, there you go. So that was one part, but we're thinking a convention set with the VR Troopers reunion with those 4. Shout out for Angel, Masked Rider, TJ Roberts. Got to find him. Got to get that going. Mystic Knights of Tyrannog. Got to get those guys and girls.
Okay, now let me ask this. Is it Tyrannog or Tyrnalog? Because if you actually go on the Irish lore, it's actually Tyrnalog.
Right. Yeah. No, you are correct.
That show had what, 1 season?
I think it had a 2nd season, but I just don't know if they finished it.
Yeah.
I think they did like how a couple other shows ended where it was a mid-season cut.
Oh, okay. What else?
But I wish they would have done 2 seasons. They would have finished the 2nd season. Because that was the thing. It was literally in the 2nd season and just there.
Yeah.
That was
Which
it.
was like, what the hell? Like, that was a good show.
No, it was. And I got more. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Matthew Lawrence's show. Have him there. And here's one. Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills reunion.
Well,
Big bad Beetleborgs, even though I hate the Beetleborgs, but people want them. So I'm like, all right.
They gotta come.
Here's the thing. There is actually a convention or small convention center about 20-ish minutes away from me called Hager Hall or Hager Hall, wherever you're at in the area. It's under new ownership and everything, and it's actually kind of interconnected with a bar and grill and a nightclub.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
I would actually love to be able to get, a couple more like conventions going. Because I know you've got 4-State Comic-Con that actually will be there next year again. And, we're trying to kind of get like the word out that, Havana Nightclub and Tortuga Bar and Grill is back open and at what it used, under new management and coming back to the old way. Back actually when I was a kid, it used to be open. My mother, when she was in the hotel industry, ran the Clarion Hotel, the Convention Center, Tortuga Bar and Grill, and Barracudas, which was the nightclub. So my mom did all of that, working as a director of sales and marketing. So she was doing all those sellouts. And I kind of followed in her footsteps somewhat regarding, getting into that industry.
Well, there you go. Well, maybe when it's time to do this panel and convention Drew's talking about, it's kind of like a 90s rejects panel, all the old shows we grew up with.
Nothing is a reject.
You know what I'm saying? No, all the shows everyone forgot
shows
about.
They didn't really push as much as they could have.
Yeah, the rise of the rejects.
I got Sweet Valley High down here, even though I don't give a care about that show, but that it was going and they had people from the other shows playing, like Tom, Jason David Frank was a guitar player in the show. So I was like, all right, I know it's not going to be right unless I invite them.
And the thing is, though, I think in the long run too, starting doing a small like convention, because I mean you have 90s con.
Yeah.
I don't see any of them ever getting invited to that.
Yeah.
Because I see Charmed, I see Beverly Hills 90210 stars.
Right.
Rest in peace, Shannon Doherty.
Yeah.
That girl was mean. I had a friend.
Big.
My best friend was at that party in the 90s when she was beating up people and losing it. She had some hands on people. Oh man,
nostalgia's up right now, so we're trying to capitalize on how we're going to structure our con, and because I have a venue that can fit 300-400 people, but it's in New England, so I've got the New England spot on lockdown. We just got to get other locations because one is not enough.
Well, Hagerstown, Maryland. We could definitely do Hager Hall.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like, it's actually under That's For Entertainment 90s Con. I mean, that one is celebrating, 35 or celebrating 35 years of the all new Mickey Mouse Club. Oh God.
Oh, is that the one from the late 80s? Early 90s?
So Steph can help us book in venues, once we get the panel going, Drew. She kind of knows that world.
I got one more on the list, Steph. WMAC Masters. The awesome martial arts show with nothing but great martial artists in it.
We should get the American Gladiators, too. We should get some of them.
American Gladiators, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll put that down.
Yeah, why not?
As long as Malibu's there, because that's my brother. Malibu is my brother because we have the same accent, and We could totally hang out. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I used to watch that.
That would be, and that's the thing, that would be good.
Mhm.
I had
And
a
I was
friend.
thinking
His mom
about
was
it.
one of them, actually. Back
And
home in California.
what I was thinking about too is, bringing back, charm to this part of the country. I mean, I
Yeah.
see charmed at like, other conventions, but I don't see most of them together ever.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be honest, you'll never see Alyssa Milano with
I'd
them.
love to see her.
We
Marcus
can't get
Cassis.
to them guys without getting into my so-called life.
Yeah.
They were first.
Mhm.
You gotta hit
And
my
Double
so-called
Dragons. She was in Double Dragons,
But you also, I mean, the Facts of Life. I would love to see a Facts of Life reunion.
We gotta go back to the 80s on that one.
Yeah. So
We'd
there's
have to
That's the
put
potential,
thing.
together.
obviously, So there's
That's the
We'd have
thing.
to
potential
do
I
to.
would
another 80s one.
love. But then again, I mean, some of the old cast is gone.
Mhm.
So, I
It's
mean, you're never going to be able to get a full reunion for the
no.
Facts of Life, which sucks because, I mean, the
Because
ones
Mrs.
that
Garrett passed away,
really,
right?
Yeah.
uh-huh,
Okay.
the ones that
Everybody else is
really,
alive, right?
huh?
Is everybody else alive? Mrs. Garrett's the only one that's gone, right?
I think
Because
what?
Fields is alive, right? So
I'm
I
not
saw
supposed to ask, but I'm curious, Steph. When were you born? You don't have to tell us your age, but when were you born? Either
well,
one.
she said her age earlier, actually.
Yeah, I said it. I'll be 30 in September. I'll be 30 on the 7th.
Oh, okay.
I was born September 7th, 1994.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
you're a
a
Virgo
Virgo.
too. Shout out to the Virgos. You got a birthday coming up. I'm the 16th. That's what's up. I think Jason is the 9th, right? Or the 4th? He's the 4th. Okay, so 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, he was always right. His birthday and mine always fell in the same week.
Nice. When's
Um,
yours, Drew?
March 31st, 83.
Oh, okay.
See,
Mark.
now here's where it's the funny thing. My grandfather's was March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
Nice.
My cousin, who's only 6 months older than me, was March 25th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that was the thing. My cousin and I were always 6 months different, but we always acted like siblings until we got older.
Yeah.
Now he acts like he's better than me. I love him, but he acts like he's better than me.
You guys are. So looks like we'd have to do a 90s con and an 80s con. If you want the Facts of Life reunion, we'd have to hit it with the 80s. So we'd have to get
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
Richard Hatch passed away. I would say Battlestar Galactica, the original one. I would say
Yeah.
Knight Rider. I would say the A-Team. Even
Well,
though you could get $6 Million Man, even though he's 70s leading into the 80s.
Mhm.
I just met Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner. I'm a huge $6 Million Man fan, so I'm never opposed to ever having them. They always got to be there. You could do something like that.
I think we could also do with that, the 80s, 90s, everything. We could go about doing, some of the old music era.
Well, I was thinking about being an actual booking agency. If you're interested, if you really want to get into this world, me and Drew want to do a panel and like nostalgia
Yeah,
commandos. We
that's
want
the
to be
thing.
the
This
new
was
Johnson of this shit,
this is really my world. Like
Yeah.
this has been my world for years.
Mhm.
I've wanted to go into acting and the modeling.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, my health kind of took a weird turn at one point,
Mhm.
so modeling and acting kind of went onto the hold. I want to get into it though. That's kind of been my real thing.
Mhm.
The voiceover work. I love it. I love doing that type of stuff.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, everyone has told me that I was working with and everything when they're like, you can get so animated with how you talk, and I'm like, you should hear me when I'm on phone calls, when I'm
Yeah.
on Zoom calls. I'm
Well,
worse.
we definitely like to talk over here, me and Drew. So that's what I mean. Like, you're right at home. So having a panel with people who have equal passion and equal, gift to gab is good, because then we can have almost like a theme park. We can do 3 panels within a whole Comic-Con every day. Like you could book us a Friday, Saturday, Sunday and do 3 panels each day and connect with the people and have different. I feel like me and Drew, if he's got enough energy in him, we could do that. We could definitely do the Professor X and the X-Men thing in real life at cons, and bring people out and bring nostalgia. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. That's our thing, It's a stock now.
Actually, one of the ones that I, especially with Ranger Stop, they do like 4 or 5 panels throughout the weekend. So, I mean, we can do it. I think gradually going into that many panels, though, would be a better option.
Right. Or at least
starting
1 or 2 a year.
Starting off with 2 a day probably is better than starting off with 5 right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because you also want to spread it out, have autographs, have booths for, vendors, because that's the thing too. And, putting vendor spotlights up, making it like Katsucon where they have Artist Alley, which is strictly artwork. There's so many different things. I'm going to do some digging into some of my old stuff, and the 3 of us then can sit down and kind of then piece together different things that we can do.
Well, check this out too. I would blend the comics with it too, because I'm pretty out here on Whatnot. I've got like a small little underground bodega on Whatnot. I've got up to 3,000 followers, 3,000 sales. I got a little hot dog cart that I could bring with us, and then put the Whatnot banner up there. And I have my Whatnot Avengers I can call too. That who's ever down, we can make it a thing. You know what I mean? So I can have a small little rebellion, you know what I mean? A little resistance. I can make something with Drew here, and we can do it. We definitely can. So people like you are important to it. If you guys want to be involved, because we can make a small movement and make a dent.
Yeah, you're the New England area. You're what?
I'm in Colorado.
So you're what? The Midwest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in Colorado.
Would you consider it Midwest area?
Well, Mountain
I'm
Time.
from California originally. Like I've only been in Colorado for 7 years.
No, I mean like for right now, like where you're at. Is it mountain or Midwest location?
It's mountain location.
Mountain. So like you're the mountain area. I'm East Coast, but lower, just around the Mason-Dixon line area. So I mean, we could really do it, and that's the thing too that I think would be good is pulling together different locations. I mean, not everything has to be centralized.
Right. I'm going to start in
says,
Philly, because there's one in Philly. I forget what it's called, but there's a big one in Philly. There's a small Philly Morphicon. It's not Morphicon.
KoD Ranger Station.
Else. Is it a Ranger Station?
Yep, it's so it's right on. It's actually next Saturday. It's KoD Ranger Station.
Yeah, I knew there was one coming up. Yep.
Yep, and it's a 1-day event in the heart of Philly. So I'm actually going to go to that.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, Philip Andrews is doing a book signing or comic book signing area at a local comic store in Frederick, Maryland, which is only about 45 minutes away from me. So I'll be heading to that Friday on the 13th, and then going to KoD Ranger Station on the 14th. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah, definitely. So it's good, kind of hook up to the train where you can and get in when you fit in, let them know about Nijetti. We're hiring, we're recruiting people. We need animators, cosplayers. Now, I have a whole cosplay booth that I would need help running. It's a $3,000 photo booth that has a nice iMac tablet on it. And basically the fans go up and there's treasure chests of props to add on top of the cosplay they already have. And you guys just go ham. And everything is saved on the tablet. It goes with the event, with your ticket. It's a free cosplay booth. So that way you don't got to carry cameras, you don't got to use your phones. All the cosplay people can just go and take time at the booth, and then we're going to go and promote everything on social media, almost to track everyone there. You know what I
And
mean? And
that's
post all the
that's
social
the
media stuff and direct it online all at the same time. And then the fans can come and pick what they want that the booth generates, you know? So it's going to be a whole corner, hopefully, devoted, at least in my venue, devoted just to the cosplay people to show out. A cosplay show, photo booths, props, a whole thing, a whole cosplay corner. You know, I don't think nobody's
yeah.
doing it. So
No, so most conventions they have something similar to that,
mm,
but it's more of a cosplay repair.
right.
Especially at Katsucon, they actually have somebody that goes around and does and is literally labeled cosplay repair station.
Yeah.
And they have sewing kits, they have everything. So I think that definitely would be a thing too,
Yeah.
because with what you're wanting to do, plus adding that, I mean, that right there would help. I know Creation Entertainment does a Z Night reunion every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's mega money. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Same
Mm-hmm.
with supernatural conventions and Vampire Diaries conventions through
Right.
Creation Entertainment. I mean, those conventions alone cost anywhere between 900 to 2300 to do.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, those are big money ones.
Right.
It's always great to start small and then go big.
Right. Well, I locked
I
the venue
honestly
down. It's
think,
just in New England. That's all.
hey, the thing is though, I mean, it's a start, and
Yeah.
that's what it is it's a start for a location.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a small convention. It used to be called Mountaineer Comic Con. They
Mm-hmm.
then changed to Legendary Comic Con, and it went from Morgantown, West Virginia, to Waynesburg, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So it's only a little bit of about 25-30 minute difference in location,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still the same stuff, just new location and kind of new theming. So
Yeah.
I think in the end of it, locking
Well,
it in
it'll
for one
definitely
location to start is
yeah.
great.
Yeah, and that's after the comic comes out, after the movie poster comes out, after the movie gets to a certain spot when I have the trailer out, you know, and then we'll start pushing it at cons.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, let
kind of
me
like the
know
White
what you
Dragon
guys want
method.
to do.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's talk and let's really get that news out about our project, but then that VR Troopers reunion.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Really push that because Brad's showing up to Power Ranger stuff, but it's like, dude, you got your own thing, VR Troopers. You
Oh,
get
he actually was. He signed more VR Trooper action figures
Mm-hmm.
at Ranger Stop 22. He signed so many action figures for VR Trooper. He's like, I did not realize how big of a fan base we had.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I
gonna
said,
start doing
that's
AI
insane.
too for VR too. I'm gonna start working my AI with the Ninjetti and Shift after because I've got enough Ninjetti Rangers, so now I gotta promote some other stuff. But
And then from
Just
there,
watch with the AI because I know eventually, with especially right now with SAG has that huge strike going on about AI work because they're starting to see a big dwindle with everything.
mm-hmm.
So I know AI for pictures is great, but voiceover tracks that I wouldn't use AI with only because of the fact of SAG is already seeing such a decline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the video game industry is seeing it too. So
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to push AI for everything.
No, everything's getting converted and redone. The AI is more of a tool for inspiration to get the suits how they're supposed to look and then convert them to actual comic art. I got
yeah,
Suki Ray, Katie Williams, Stevie Geiger. I have a whole team of actual hand drawn artists that are going to recreate my AI for me and do a comic universe. So it'll be like kind of like what, you know, Pat Sky's doing with his book, or like others have done before, like Amy did with her book. So it's going to be a 4 to 6 part prequel to the movie that will help everything. And then we got the con that we're working on. So this KoD thing, this whole Ranger thing, the Jetty movement, everything with Drew Danger management, everything that comes out of this is going to be basically in stages. So we're now approaching towards, you know, the early first / middle stages of it.
Well, I would say if you want to promote it the most, don't use Indiegogo.
Yeah, well, I have a spot fund now. It's already up, but
yeah, I was going to say Kickstarter. I've seen a lot of good come from Kickstarter campaigns. Because I've seen some great work through Kickstarter, but I've also seen some terrible work come through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So I know it's definitely it's a progress. I know that. I've seen it, but I know as long as you guys are keeping your heads up high about it, it's definitely going to be there.
Realistically, I told people 2 to 5 year plan to actually get us at least 2 years to get us to a working trailer with some real martial artists, real actors, and real people behind it. Giving myself, you know, at least a year or two to end up in the con scene and have the trailer done.
Well, that's the thing. You never want to sell yourself short either. So giving yourself a nice goal of 2 years is actually good.
Yeah.
I know some people are saying, oh, well, you know, get it done now. So you want to rush it, but then you get laughed at the con world, because it's like you rushed it. Yeah. You put something out that wasn't good.
Yeah.
And that's not, I definitely don't want to see that to anybody. I mean, look at Disney. They've taken years on some of this stuff. Did we ever know that, you know, our Robert Downey Jr. was going to come back from being Iron Man to being Dr. Doom? No.
We talked about that. We'll have to bring you back to talk about that. Me and Drew talk about that all the time. That was such a lazy move, girl. I hated that move.
But the thing is, though, apparently, from what I found out, that was in the works while they were still filming Avengers 3 years ago.
I believe it.
Yeah, because I heard he was either Doom or King.
Huh?
I heard he was either Doom or King when the universe was going. There was an alternate place where Tony Stark could be either Doom or King, the Conqueror.
And that was the thing. It was literally, it wasn't even supposed to be Endgame the way they did it. But they realized, do Endgame the way they do, and with Tony Stark dying, so they can bring in him as Doom. Because reality of it, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, having an actor portray 2 characters at once is a little bit, it waffles.
Yeah.
It waffles on that. Will it work? Will it won't work? Now, and I know they did that with a few other actors at different points. So, I mean, yeah, they just gotta watch how they do it.
Check this out, Steph. I want to do what a famous Tupac saying, right? I may not be the flame that changes the world, right? But I'll spark the flame that changes it. And I feel like, you know, Rangers needs a Kevin Feige, and if it ain't Reekin, I'm gonna find the person who can save it. You know, if it's not me, I'm you know what I mean? It's kind of like that for me, because I refuse, as long as I'm going, to let it be what it is, you know, and at least try and do everything in my power. So I appreciate people like you who have such a passion for the fan base. Like I said, I definitely want you to come back. I definitely want you to, I want to open the dumpster. We got to go return to the dumpster. You know what I'm saying? Because you got so much stuff. And, you know, we've had Laura on the show for a while, and she kind of she needs some work with the with you know, the fandom and learning the lore and stuff like that. So it's great to have a difference in perspective and be able to tap into all that.
Well,
So
you also gotta think, not everybody, especially not everyone had the same abilities to learn about the lore either.
right,
Mhm.
right.
I mean, I don't know what Laura's history is or any of that,
Hmm.
but I mean, she probably didn't have the ability to really go in depth with the lore. She
Right.
didn't
She
have a
learned
whole
a
lot
lot.
to go in to the Sentai world and the Super Sentai world.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, for me, I went on the dark net and went full on to the Japanese sites
Yeah, yeah.
just to watch some of the older shows because that was how I wanted to learn.
Right, right. No,
And of
definitely.
course, I know everyone's like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," and I'm like, as long as I'm not doing anything illegal, I'm
Right.
fine.
Well, look
And
at
if
it.
they come to my house and say, "Why were you on the dark net?" I'm like, "Because I can't get Japanese footage for certain shows
Right.
on U.S. internet because
Exactly.
y'all block it."
Well, that's what I'm saying. Certain people I want to make script advisors if they're willing and they're down. So you're definitely someone I like to bounce ideas off and
Well,
formulate in
yeah.
nooks and crannies of the canon and make sure my shit's on point. So I do want to wrap up. We're gonna have you back. Me and you are gonna talk. We're gonna
Yeah.
schedule. Drew, last thoughts before we close out. I mean, we just ate up 2 hours like it was nothing. So you definitely got to
I
come back.
know we got to get to eventually get to some old school pro wrestling
Yeah,
and the stories about that because there's murders, cocaine,
yeah.
roofies, more murders, more disappearances.
Drew would
I
love that.
mean, they all use performance enhancements.
Well, remember
I,
remember Dino Bravo? Dino Bravo was killed at his house, shotgun through the
uh,
chest in his lazy boy.
That's
yeah.
a good show, Drew. The
See?
dark side of the WWE. You know,
That's one we got to
Well,
get into.
you guys
And
want to
are
get
you
into
an
it?
original Star Wars trilogy fan?
yes.
Okay. So if you're down, I know Rican's down. We're going to talk about this is going to be a big show. I even feel like doing it now just because we mentioned it because
Mhm.
okay. I am a fan of the original Star Wars trilogy. Go figure, my son's name is Luke, and you know why. The original three are what is Star Wars for me. And I want
Oh,
to
yeah.
bring this up because I feel like enough people don't bring it up about how the original story was supposed to go and what was established to be before the prequels came in, before all the other stuff came in, and how they rewrote and talk about the original trilogy after that with Luke Skywalker finding his actual sister who's not Leia. I know all this stuff because the original trilogy is like my favorite thing. I know more about it than most people will ever know. And I have all the original scripts for all three original movies, all the alternate takes and everything.
Mm.
Ideas, pictures,
Well,
storyboards, I've got them all.
well, I know Carrie Fisher definitely said there was a lot of changes done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Carrie Fisher definitely, she left her mark in history for acting.
Yeah,
Oh
she
yeah.
did.
I mean, she was a no fucks given actress.
Mhm.
And that was, I think, for me, that turning point to where it was like, okay, you're a no fucks given type person. I like it. And I mean, the fact that here it is, she would just flip everyone off like it was just nothing. She'd just walk out and, all right, fuck you.
That was
Like
scary.
she
Well,
didn't care. And I remember an interview her, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford did. And she actually did that. She flipped off the interviewer for asking an inappropriate question, and she said, fuck you.
mm,
And Mark Hamill actually talked about it on his Twitter at one point. And I got to deep dive into that one because I think he still has that one up. I hope he does, but I know he does like to delete tweets.
Yeah.
Especially when they kind of go off on, the weepy side of it, because he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to remember in the good way. Which, I mean, I get it. I mean, he lost technically three really important people in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, Debbie Reynolds, he loved Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah.
And he loved Kevin Costner. The three of them.
Kevin Conroy?
No, Kevin Conroy. Yes, sorry,
Yeah,
I don't know why I said Costner.
no, it's
Kevin
okay.
Conroy.
I've met Kevin Conroy too.
No,
He's
I mean
a really
that's the
good
thing.
dude.
I mean, Mark said it best. You cannot have the Joker without the Batman, and that's why he's retired. That's why he retired. He's like, I cannot voice the Joker if Kevin is not there.
Kevin was a neat guy. I've met him. I met Kevin quite a few times, and he was always such a
was
nice.
Supposed to meet him that December, and I was in Orlando having breakfast with two of the Ranger Stop crew, and when we saw the news that Kevin had passed, and the first words I said was, "You've got to be shitting me."
Yeah,
not another one.
Big loss.
Not another one. I
I
was blown. I think I was at a loss for words for that whole day. Because it's like you don't think somebody's gonna go. I mean that was just like how Carrie Fisher was. Like I did not think she was gonna go.
Yeah.
Same with Debbie Reynolds, and Debbie Reynolds going not even 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
That one. Well, I mean, you can die from a broken heart, and I think that's exactly what truly happened. Yeah. Her heart was shattered, and so with that, like, it really was. It was like I want to be with my daughter, and so yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it.
No, absolutely. I met Mark from a distance. I have a picture I'll have to show you guys, but he's looking like right into my camera because he could not hang out. He only had an hour. He was leaving LA Comic-Con, Stanley's Kamikaze. He was leaving there to fly out to tape for another movie, but he promised he would be there. So he came through and he had an hour tops to be on the panel, did the Joker impersonation, did everything. Yeah. And then he had to go. So it was really, really quick. And he wanted to stay, but he was like, yeah, I got to go fly out and do this movie. So I'm here for an hour with you guys.
I think he was going and doing Child's Play.
It might have, because this was it was right when I got married. So it had to be in 2012.
No, that wasn't Child's Play.
Yeah, it was back in 2012. He did a movie called Sushi Girl with Noah Hathaway, Michael Biehn, and Tony Todd was in it. They were all in one movie, and he had promised to do it, and that's when he came in. So that was when I got to see him, in person and everything. They were that when they announced Star Wars Episode 7, they were there. I was there that year. That's when I did the whole Alien Fallout with 20th Century Fox we had. They were there, but you couldn't get in where they were. Like they were like, oh, they're here. Harrison's here, Carrie's here, Mark's here, Billy's here, but you could not get anywhere. Peter Mayhew was there. They were all there, and you couldn't get there. Like there were so many people. Like you couldn't even walk and see. And so I was like, well, I don't know. Looks like I can't get over there because they had shut people off. Like they took so many and then they said you could not go. Yeah. And that was probably one of the last times they were all together like that, where you could say the whole cast was there, the main cast. Yeah. So that was probably
everybody's getting older. It's getting more difficult to do this stuff, you know.
Yeah, Richard Hatch made every convention, and now he's gone. There's Classic Battlestar gone. I talked to Richard Hatch several times.
Yeah, but you also got to think too, like, that was, I mean, not long after that panel or that whole showing of everything and all of the build-up for the movies. I think it was the final movie that Carrie had done. She didn't even make it to the premiere.
Yeah.
That was the thing
I'm a
about
Star Wars fan too. My father saw it 7 times in the theater. He was a nut, man. He was a nut. So.
Hey, I've watched all of the Star Wars except for Solo and Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue One's really good. Rogue One's cool. It's great.
I just haven't been able to sit down and watch it. I want to. I just haven't been able to. Like, every time I want to, it's like, oh, something else comes in my way.
No, it's a good. Rogue One is definitely good.
Rogue One's cool. Then there's another cut. I don't know if they're ever going to release it. There's a different cut of it, and it was the original cut, but I don't know if they're ever going to be able to put it out. If that'll ever get released. No.
Definitely. Well, last thoughts, guys. Let's wrap this up. I got a slide. We're definitely gonna have you back, Steph, because I'm gonna call you, the rabbit hole, because you're willing to jump in and stay as long as you want. So you cool with me, girl?
You're cool. We love it. We're gonna do these last thoughts because Rican, I know you got to go to work, but I just want to say this really quick. I am that much of an original Star Wars trilogy fan. You know what I have in my possession? I have the original cuts, unaltered cuts of the original 3 movies. No CGI, cleaned up nicely on Blu-ray. Professionally done. I do.
That is something I would love to see.
Right? I remember when they added this stuff and put them out on VHS, especially.
Yeah, 90s. That was I remember when that happened. I was like, what are they doing when they released them in theaters?
That's a big deal.
Because they wouldn't exactly say. They said they were doing some, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw them. I was like, that stuff looks like water. Like, why did they do that? They just left it alone.
So listen, before you close it out, Drew, I want to thank Steph again, because I'm definitely interested in not only your knowledge and intellect about the fandom and the lore, but also moving through the traffic with the con scene, with where we're going, and the way that you chop up about stuff, and just your whole vibe is definitely welcome on KoD anytime. So this is your formal introduction, your invite. I definitely want to throw you on the dream team. We got a rotating bench of people from the KoD that come through, talk, like I said, script advisors, con organizers, cosplay management with Strife's experience in the cosplay. He helps out all the time. He is one of the homies. Shout out to Strife. So anyone who wants to get involved in the movement, KoD is kind of the way we all kind of come together, like Captain Planet, how we ranger up. You know what I mean? So it's different than the other channels that we've met on, because it's not more of just a viewing globe and Angel Grove. It's more of a Benihana type of feel. It's all sit, have dinner, chop up, go to the bar, talk, that kind of thing. So I appreciate you. Like I said, more than I expected. I know there was a vast ocean of stuff you had up there. So definitely, if you want a part 2 and a part 3, we'll talk. Get with Drew. Definitely get with me. Drew, final thoughts. Anything you want to let Steph know before we dip, and then close us out, bro? Like I said, I appreciate you coming through, rising in Jetty. We're adding more ninjas to the squad. You know what I mean? It's got to be Ninja Storm up in here. The dojo's rising, Drew. We're expanding. We're getting more G's involved. So shout to the KoD, of course, Brazilian Army, all of that. And yeah, man, KoD in the place to be. So
all right, closing thoughts for me. Well, guys, it's me, Drew Danger, and what I do, but I do want to announce this. Rican, Stephanie, are you down for if we can, the next time we get together, to do that Star Wars discussion because I am going to make it the most epic Star Wars video.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Steph is worth organizing a structured show like around her because she can go in and out of different lores. She has the knowledge with different fan bases, so we can really chop. We really could cook up some good episodes. So this was kind of freestyle. She kind of came through. We just shot the shit a little bit, and I'm sold. So like I said, Steph, now I understand why people respect you in the fandom and do.
Strife recommended you.
Yeah. So
well, I guess it's because like for me, you know, like especially starting on Henry's channel and, you know, talking on everything, I've kept myself, you know, as I always say, I keep myself at 100. If I'm not going to be that way, then I'm not going to be me. And, you know, there are times, yes, I mean, we all go on our tangents. That's normal. That's normal everyday human. But if you go about it the wrong way, then you're going to just make enemies. Right. And for me, I'm all about, you know, I guess taking a step on the new Disney's era and everything, Descendants, The Rise of Red.
Right.
For a second there, and Bridget, how technically, you know, Bridget was a sweet angel, then turned villainous because of a very poor prank that was played against her. And that's who I am. Like, I'm that type of person of, you know, I'm the underdog. I'm the type that stays in the shadows until the time is right for me to actually, you know, show who I am.
Right.
Because I'd rather do that than put myself out there and just get ridiculed.
Right.
Which is why I was, for the longest, a ninja watcher on Henry's stream. Because I didn't know how everything went. Which is why, like, yeah, now I've got my voice. I've got who I am. I didn't want to like just chop it up from the very beginning on his channel because I was like, I don't know how everything's gonna be reactive.
Right.
And I'm by no means shy, but I'm more reserved around new situations.
Right. Selective energy, right?
Yes. Like new situations I'm reserved on, but once I get my feel about it, yeah, then it's game over.
Well, listen, I just want to add to that. Shout to this guy, because if I would have never met this guy, I don't think this platform that's happening with KoD and with us, even though Henry brought us together, this platform has become the backyard. It has become where people, before they go on Henry's or after they go on Henry's, they can come on with us and really showcase who they are. You know what I'm saying? And showcase what they're about and maybe feel more comfortable than being at the barbecue, because Henry's the block party. So you could come chill in the backyard real quick, get to know the main stars of the Henryverse, and then go over there. You know what I mean? Because I love about Henry's, he gives everyone a time to shine. And that's what got me started. And a lot of people have made content, regardless of how the world may see Henry. He is about his little community, and he is about everything that's happening with all these content creators and stuff that's spewing from the Henryverse. So anyone involved in the KoD, anyone affiliated with us, how we started, we're always going to stay true to that and to y'all. And our house, you can always come in, put your feet up, share your story, develop a grind, come chop up with us about a franchise. Anything you guys want to do, it's about the voices. So we're the true voice of the people, and just an extension of what Henry does, you know, just a more comfortable format, more different format. You know, he's the viewing globe, we're entire Angel Grove. You know what I'm saying? So it's very different. So we appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to the comeback. We're going to pull more attacks, you know?
If it wasn't for him and Francis, I think, and what their channels are and everything, you know, seeing Francis on Henry's channel, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I really would have been the one to jump up on his channel more and everything.
Right.
Because, you know, I always was, especially in different, chord groups and everything. I was never really a Discord person until Henry's channel. Like watching, how Dust interacts, how Francis interacts, how Strive, how everyone else interacts with Henry. That is something I love. And to see, Francis be as caring as she is, but also direct and to the point on it too. That's what I love about her. Like, I have nothing but respect for her. And I know some people may say, oh, well, you don't know them in person. You only know what they are on YouTube. Well, that's just like anybody else. You don't know what an actor is. You don't know what a wrestler is. You don't know what a singer is because of, you only see them on TV. Unless you can see them in real life. And I mean, the fact that, the live streams, they're unscripted. They're true to the nature. They're raw and uncut.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do too.
And that's the thing that, made me love everything about it is, the live streams. Because they're live, they're raw, they're uncut, they're uncensored. It's straight to the point of who that person is genuinely.
Right.
No,
and
absolutely.
that's why I have all the love and respect for what Francis, what Dust, Strive, and Henry have done. Because all of them have, so much potential. And I love them for that. They've given me a voice again.
Yeah, shout to Angel Glow, man. They're Angel Glow.
Instead of being, just the reserved person, they've given me that voice again. They've given me that confidence again. Because I used to hate how I looked on camera, on videos. I hated how I sound. But they are the ones that have made it to where I don't have to hate how I sound. And I am who I am. And I'm proud of that now.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's like I got to give all of them the props for that. And I know, Francis's name is in my mouth, but it's in a good way.
Now, hopefully we get her on here soon.
Negative.
Yeah, hopefully we're working on that. We want to get some Francis ties up in here too. So yeah, take us out, Drew.
Okay. Hey, RangerMatrix. That's the name, right?
Yeah. Then it fits. You got the whole grid up in there, girl, for real.
Okay, we got you in. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. All right, guys. I know I could go on for much longer, and I've stretched that out talking about the Star Wars trilogy, but I do have to shut it down. I don't want to, but we have to. Right. Hey, this is Drew Danger here, Rican Ranger, RangerMatrix, Stephanie Dana here. We are super excited, and we are Knights of the Dragon, also abbreviated to KoD. And here's what we're going to do. What's going to happen next time? Well, Drew stopped talking about the original Star Wars trilogy. Will RangerMatrix, will she be able to build her convention correctly? I think she will.
Yes.
And will Rican be able to get all his armor together because Henry made the challenge? I think he will.
We shall rise,
Same time, same place, same RangerMatrix, same Drew Danger, same Rinker Ranger time. And we'll do it again. Stay awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Peace.
Later.